Hey guys, this is Mel, and I am back to talk about Motherland Fort Salem, episode 301, titled Homo Cantus, which premiered Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, on Freeform. It's been a while, guys, but I'm so excited for the new season to be back, even though it is the final season, but boy does it look exciting based off the trailer. So before we get right into it, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. I'm recording roughly an hour since the episode has ended. I had another show that was on right afterwards that I really didn't want to miss, but I made my notes while I was in commercial breaks for that one, so I'm ready to talk about it. So again, these are my first impression thoughts about the episode. I haven't looked up anything else aside from like character names, because I did forget a few characters that were introduced last season. So I'm ready to get started. I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes, hopefully. If you've seen any of my other videos, it kind of depends. I'm hit and miss when it comes to my timer. But hopefully, let's see how it goes. Definitely have to get back into the swing of talking about Motherland Fort Salem because it's been so long. But boy, am I excited. So first off, what happened in this episode? So again, notice structure-wise that we do have the teaser and the 6-act structure. So I'm very excited about that. Usually the acts are kind of broken up based off of when the commercial breaks happen, so that was my good indicator there. But timeline-wise, thankfully, we did actually get a specified time, so it looks like our unit, that is Rael, Tally, and Abigail, including also Scylla, Adele, and Nikta, and it looks like Kalita as well. They've been on the runs for a month now, so it's been a month since the season 2 finale. So good thing that was stated there, because that would have been my question. Because you also kind of see that Rael wears her hair differently now. She doesn't have the braids on the side. Her hair's also a little bit longer than we last saw her. So that's another indicator there. But the first scene of the episode is an interesting one. We started off with a flashback set 136,455 years ago. That's quite a number than just saying the generic 500, 600 years ago. But anyways, in this flashback, we are seeing 6 witches together using their vocal range conjure up a storm from what looks like to be in the desert. Not quite sure. We do see them hugging afterwards, and then as if like they've survived something they didn't think that they would survive, and then they each speak what I'm assuming is in the main mother tongue language. Let us begin, and then all 6 of them went their separate ways. And that was the opening of the episode. Later on, though, Kalita does mention these 6, how they're the 6 who spoke the mother tongue, and it was them that created the root of all language that is known today, if my understanding is correctly. So I'm hoping we see more, but that is the extent of the flashback we saw for the episode. So storyline-wise, though, I think for now, I'm going to separate it based off of like who we're focusing on. So we're going to have the first one going to talk about our unit that is on the run. The second one's going to talk about what's happening at Fort Salem. And the third one's going to talk about what's happening like behind enemy lines with the Camarilla. So we'll go into that. So let's start off with our unit that's on the run. So like I said, when we pick up, they've been on the run for a month, and they're currently hiding out in this factory plant with other Dodgers. Don't know if they've been there the whole month, but recently they're trying to learn how to pretty much hide in plain sight, with this cover story being a paper plant, I believe, or packaging plant. In it, though, we see Tally training with Nikta, not only to learn how to fight, but also how to hone in her inner sight. So there's that. But we also see while Nikta and Scylla continuously change their appearance, their faces, because that's something that the spree does, Rael and Abigail are completely against it, but Tally wants to because their faces are plastered on the screen as fugitives against the United States. So, which makes it very hard for them to hide amongst the Dodgers because it brings too much attention. So we have a bit of a conflict there. We do see Rael and Scylla being together as a couple and trying to dream big and trying to hope for a normal life, not being on the run, which is a great change of pace because last season we barely got to see them together. So that's a good thing there. On Abigail's side, She tries to reach out to her mother Petra, but she's always told no because it would be too much of a risk. When she sneaks out to make that phone call, this is where her and Adele find out that there's this new technology where with a flashlight and it looked like some sonic emitter is able to reveal where their workings, their witch workings are in play, which is quite a discovery right there for them. It also kind of betrays them in the end because that follows them back to the factory and then they get found out. And then all the Dodgers have to like kind of disperse and relocate and kind of separate. While that's all happening, though, we do get a moment between Abigail and Adele during their moment of flirting as Dwight and Shelby, I believe. Adele brings up the question of wanting to start a family, which breaks the whole facade, and Abigail wondering, is this Dwight asking or is it Adele asking? So, and then at that point, that's when they got interrupted by the cops showing up with the flashlight, the sonic flashlight thing. So there's that, and eventually they do have to relocate. So we see our unit back on the road in their little makeshift bus in disguise. So there's that. Fort Salem. Let's move on to them. So two sides of it. Throughout the episode, we do see Anacostia working with Sterling, who is the one of the security detail men on Vice President Silver's team, and they are working together covertly to try to spy on Vice President Silver. Through that, they learn about Albin Hurst and his name because Sterling recognizes him as being part of the camera crew team on the day that the Fort Salem was attacked by the Black Plague. With that, Anacostia also recruits M to help with an infiltration mission to get them inside to have ears on a certain Camarilla meeting that was happening. M asked to be given a new mission since they are currently grieving over half their unit being killed off during the Black Plague attack, while their other half of the unit is currently on the run. So they kind of need a new direction, so that's why they were put on this new mission. Crawling in a tight vent, which is quite impressive and also looking very claustrophobic for me. But they were able to get their eyes and ears on that meeting. Anyways, when Anacostia reports back to Petra about Albin Hurst having a name, Petra reveals that she did meet Albin Hurst and he warned her about the union between Abigail and Adele, Sky and Earth, I believe he referred to them as, and she kind of got her wondering why that was the case later, and wondering why he would, like, what in particular would that be referring to, which I kind of forgot at the moment, but then, like, that is quite some coincidental timing, which we'll talk about later. So there's that. Meanwhile, while Anacostia and Sterling are doing all the surveillance work, we have Isadora working on trying to find a way to inoculate the soldiers from the Black Plague that had attacked the school. Just as she finished inoculating General Petra Bellwether, this black rain, from the looks of it, descends on Fort Salem, and all the soldiers had to take cover to not being touched by it. And I don't know if it's this weird childlike voice spoke just as the rain was falling, and I wasn't sure if it, like, only the audience was supposed to hear it, or if Petra and the other soldiers were hearing it as well too. And if that's the case, where's that voice coming from? Is it from the rain? Like, what's going on? That was kind of weird and a little spooky right there. So that's the end of the Fort Salem bit. Now, with the Camarilla, this is where Albin Hurst holds a meeting with Vice President Blyton being present. There was also this blonde woman being present, but I didn't catch her name during the episode. I haven't seen it listed anywhere because it's still early for Google to name credits and stuff. But they're holding a meeting, and they revealed that with their research, they have found that this mycelium seems to be the potential power source to the witch's powers, and they think destroying that will render the witches powerless. So it looks like they're trying to they view it as a parasite, the mycelium. I'm not quite sure where they found the huge chunks of it that they photographed. I'm not sure where they stated they saw it, but it's quite a lot right there too. So there's that. We'll talk about that later, though. But the last scene of the episode takes place in Basque County, where we see a man in a field humming or singing a vocal song, and as he sings, we see this mycelium rapidly growing and taking shape in the form of alder. And it looks like she's brought back to life. Her eyes are definitely glowing a little differently than usual. But so we ended off with her coming back. So is it actually alder, or is it the mycelium taking the form of alder? We do not know. We do know at the end of in the season finale last year that Alder's dead body was given to the mycelium wall, and we saw her kind of be reconstructed within that plane. But yeah, I guess what's yet to be seen if this version of Alder we see is if it's actually her just reborn, or if it's the mycelium taking its shape. We'll have to wait and see about that. But it's great to see that that came at the end of the first episode already, and we didn't have to wait too long for her to actually reappear again. So, going into characters, we do meet a new character named Vera. She happens to be an old Dodger, quote unquote, acquaintance of Scylla. I'm assuming that they were past lovers of some sort just by the closeness of her trying to go in to kiss Scylla hello, and Scylla pulling back and hey, let's not not right now, not proper. So that was something there. She's very. I'm not sure if we're gonna see her again, but just as as her new Dodger group arrived at the plant, she announced that they were gonna leave because they didn't want the heat of the unit being fugitives to follow them as Dodgers. So that was something there. We do see Tiffany again, the little girl that Scylla and Anacostia saved when they were infiltrating the Camarilla. We have Tiffany bonding with Scylla as she hangs out with the other Dodger kids, but they are separated when they have to all relocate after their factory hideout was exposed. With Nicta, we find out while she's training Tally that the face that she trains Tally with is the face she met Alder in back in the day, but that is definitely not her real face. We do see the character of Nicta being played by two different women, though, because of the face changing thing. So that's something there. And then with Kalita, I mentioned before that she talks about as she teaches mother tongue to the other Dodgers, whether they're children or older, teaching them how to speak the mother language. She mentions the six witches, which I'm assuming are the same six from the flashback that we saw in the first scene of the episode, and saying how those six women were the start of they created the root of all language that is known today. So I hope we get more of that, maybe either through Kalita, or maybe we'll find out more from mycelium in the form of Alder. Who knows? Hopefully, but there's that. Moving on to some tidbits, though, that did come up. We have Abigail being able to reach out to her mother through the spree's communication through the mirror method, and that is when Petra mentions Hurst's warning about the union between Sky and Earth, or the union between Abigail and Adil. And Abigail thought that was weirdly timed because Adil had just mentioned to her previously about whether or not they were ready to start a family together. So that had Abigail wondering what kind of union was Hurst warning Petra about, or worrying about with Petra. So that is an interesting one there. We also find out, though, that Rael hasn't been able to communicate or connect with her father to let him in the last month to let him know like things were okay. But we'll see if that continues as the unit now heads to go into the secession, because I think that's where Rael's father is located, in the secession. I believe. I could be wrong. But there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I think for me, when I really think about it, the fact that the Camarilla have an idea about the mother mycelium and they already have plans to target that, I think that surprised me the most, because I wasn't expecting them to be aware of its existence. Maybe I missed something in the previous episode, or maybe in this past month they just progressed a lot farther than I had anticipated. But yeah, I'm a little worried about what they're gonna do to the mycelium, if I'm honest. I mean, I knew they were aware of it through their capture of Rael, but I was kind of surprised by how much their photo evidence showed that they were able to locate so much of it and to extract so much information from it. So I was kind of surprised by that and a little worried too about what they're going to use that information for. So let's move on to top 3 favorite moments. I really liked Rael and Scylla. It was just great to see them together again and actually being able to be together with each other as a couple, because yeah, we got an introduction of it in season 1 obviously, but in season 2 they were mostly separated for all of that season. So it was just great to see them actually to get a glimpse of what it could be like for them before everything kind of before the shit hit the fan and they had to leave. But it was great just to see what their normal day-to-day could have been like together. So it was great refreshing just to see both of them openly expressing their feelings for each other and wanting to be with each other with no secrets between them. So that was just a really great change of pace for them. Another favorite I did have was Tally trying to train her sight and trying to see her hone into that, and for us to actually see what that looks like, which I thought was pretty cool. So I can't wait to see how that expands even more from the season 3 trailer. It looks like she gets quite into honing that skill of hers. So I was really excited to see that already starting in this episode. And then another favorite that I had was just Anacastia's constant focus on the investigation, I believe, into Vice President Silver, which led into her finding about Albin Hurst. I really like that we get to see a few different workings in play for how she does surveillance, not only when she was able to communicate with Sterling while he was still while they were in 2 separate locations, but also how she was able to kind of report back to M about what the situation was before sending M in to infiltrate and get a closer look inside. Also, just to see the surveillance camera working that they were able to do before the Chimera's tech interfered with that. It was very interesting to see Anacostia in the field instead of just being at the Fort Salem base as a teacher. It was great to see her actually being in the field as a soldier. So that was pretty cool there. I definitely can't wait to see her in more missions like that. But I'm also very worried about that one scene in the trailer for her where she was stuck in a plastic cage. So I'm very worried about that, how she gets into that situation. But I hope she kicks ass when she gets out of it. So there's that. But let's move on to top 3 peeve moments. The only peeve I really had about this episode was Abigail leaving the factory to call her mom. Yes, I understand her wanting to speak to her mom. I get that. But if you're not willing to change your face so that you can go out in public to make that call, I feel like she shouldn't have put that risk. If you really need to make a call to your mom, you could have just gone to one of the phones in the factory warehouse and used that while still in the safety of the Dodger walls, instead of risking not only yourself but everyone at that Dodger safe house by trying to reach out and making that call. I just felt that it was putting everyone at risk, and it felt too careless, and it was just it could have gone a lot better. You could have had a lot better of a plan if you really needed to make the call. She could have done a lot more to at least conceal her. If she wasn't going to change her face, she could have at least worn a hat, worn glasses or some sort, done something to make her look less like herself without actually changing her face. But yeah, it's just too many careless moves on that part for sure. And then I guess another peeve I also thought of was at the end of, which act was it? I think it was at the end of Act 1. Let me check. Yeah, at the end of Act 1, they had a false alarm, or they had the alarm go off, and we got shown a group of people in the shadows approaching what looked like a factory warehouse. It looked like it was going to be a potential attack, which I was gearing for. And then I thought maybe if, and then being told old it was a false alarm. I was kind of half expecting that like the that group of people that they just brought in might have been like Trojan horses, where it's like they claim that they're good but they're actually not, and they were going to attack in the middle of the night. I was kind of expecting that, so it was a little bit of a letdown to find out that not only was that Vera's group, but to find out like, oh, they're just passing through and they're going to leave the next as soon as they freshen up. It just seemed like that was like a false move. Like there was like a fakeness right there, and I feel like I was baited out a little bit. So it was a small peeve. It was just like it kind of did not it it was a little letdown. I'll say it was a little letdown. You kind of had me geared up for like a potential fight, and then like nothing came of it. So it's like, oh, okay. So there's that. But let's move on to random questions very quickly. My first question is I'm seeing the timer, I'm over 20 minutes. Great. First question though, when they change faces, is it the face of someone that they killed that they take the form of? Like, was Scylla actually telling Tiffany the truth when she asked her about it, and like it's not someone they killed that they take the face of, or was she just lying because it was a kid asking and didn't want to tell the truth about that? Because I can't really remember, because didn't Scylla take the face of someone who was still alive before? Like in the previous season when she was infiltrating that Camarilla masked ball that was happening? It's like, I don't know. Then a part of me had me really thinking, going back to the original Charm series in season 8, when Piper, Phoebe, and Paige had to take on brand new faces to the world because they were faking their deaths, but to their loved ones, they still saw their original faces. So it was more of like we still saw the original actors playing them, but then whenever there was a reflection, it would be a different set of actors playing them to show like that's what the world saw their faces as, and that's them pretending them to be the cousins of the charmed ones. So I was wondering if like that was going to be a situation where if they did, like if Tally, uh, Abigail, and Rael were really gonna consider changing their faces, if like maybe they would do that, where we would still get the original actors playing it, but it's only in a reflection that we would see the other faces that they're taking on, or if there's just always be us seeing the other faces first and then being shown later on that it was who it actually is, like with the tour guide or with um, Nikta when we actually saw her switching between the two faces in the same scene. So I was wondering about that too, because then also tying back to my question of whether or not if whenever they change faces, it's always someone that they've killed. If that's true, then I can understand why Rael and Abigail would be very against the idea of changing faces, because then that would imply they'd have to kill somebody in order to do that little trick. But if killing someone, like if they could just change faces to someone that they haven't killed, and it's just someone like they choose and they could still be alive, then I don't really see the reason why they would be against that. If anything, that would be the most useful tool that they can have, right? So it's like I'm a little confused by like what the logistics of that particular spell work really is. So that's a question there. Another question I did have was, what did the black rain mean, and what was the voice that was trying to that childlike voice that occurred when the black rain happened when they were trying to inoculate the soldiers? I mentioned that beforehand when we were talking about it with the Fort Salem storylines, but did I miss the meaning of what that was supposed to be? Was I just too confused to connect the dots? Like, what is it? Let me know about that, or what you know and picked up on. Another question: have we met Nikta's real face before, or do we only know the face as the one that Alder has met? It's like, is that the only version, the original version we know of, or have we met her real face before? I wonder if we did, like, if it's going to be like a surprise reveal or something. I don't know. Next question. Does the public know about the existence of the Camarilla, or is it more of like a hidden rumor that if you go searching for them, thinking that they're real, then you get confirmed that they're real? Like, I'm kind of wondering, like, the public knows that the military consist of witches. So does the public also know that the Camarilla consists of witch hunters, or it's only like a legend to the public that like, oh, the Camarilla used to exist? And it's only if you actually go searching for like old wives' tales then you find out, oh, they actually do exist and you want to be part of their secret society. Like, to what extent does the public know what's actually going on between the Camarilla and the military witches? That's a question there. Final question. On the rooftop, just before Tally was going to fall over and Nicta saved her, Tally saw Nicta's face get half burnt during one of her sight visions. My question is, was that a vision of the past when Nicta's face got burnt in half? Or is that a vision of what is to come in the future for Nicta? Because beforehand we saw it being that that whole sequence of how the sight works for Tally as being her seeing future actions. So I thought maybe the burnt face thing might be a future thing. But then we've also seen Tally be able to see visions of the past, but I don't know if that's because of she was specifically going connected to Alder's past, and that's what she saw. So I'm wondering what it could be. If it's the past or the future that she saw, and it, because it was enough to spook her enough that she almost fell off the roof, right? So that's my final question there. So let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 302, I had to watch this on YouTube because it didn't show after the episode had aired. But I saw, or I at least heard, Vice President Silver talking about the witches following their own set of rules, and it's time that they didn't have that. I saw the unit spell work being detected by another group. We saw Scylla reporting or discovering that the mycelium is being poisoned. We have Abigail confronting Albin Hurst before she punches him, and then he taught Scylla about Rael not being present, only for the unit to rush back to check on Rael and find that she's being consumed by the mycelium, or at least she's being consumed by the ground, which is terrifying. So that's something there. But the synopsis for the episode reads that the group seeks sanctuary in the mysterious secession. The unit learns that the Camarilla is directly targeting the mycelium, inspiring them to strike back. Petra and Anacostia work to determine President Wade's allegiance. Ooh, yeah, the president wasn't actually featured in this episode. It was only Vice President Silver. I really hope she's on the military side. I really hope so. But I'm very excited to see. I think it was a strong start to the season. At least it definitely has you some questions and at least lets you know what the situation is now after a month has passed. But I'm excited to see what the rest of the season has to go for it. But I'm very curious to see what you guys thought about the season finale. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your own thoughts about the episode, but also your theories of what could be happening in this final season. Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear it all. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, you can check my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. My WordPress account is also linked down below. Anything I post online is connected to my WordPress. Both are still a work in progress for organization-wise. I do have to catch up on that. But if you want, you can follow me there as well. Otherwise, that is pretty much it, guys. I can feel my throat already going. But I hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the next episode. But until then, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Stay safe, and bye for now.